Welcome to Infidelity Nest. In today's video, we step into the quiet, trembling heart of a story that asks one question most of us never dare to answer. What happens when comfort becomes a cage and longing becomes the only way to breathe? My name is Emily Turner, and I'm 31 years old. What I'm about to share isn't simple or even comfortable. It's a truth that has reshaped the way I see myself. The kind that makes you realize how fragile happiness can be when it's built on silence. For years, I believed I understood what love was. I believed happiness was stability, predictability, the calm after all storms. But I've come to learn that even calm waters can hide dangerous depths. For most of my 20s, I built a life that looked perfect from the outside. I had what everyone said I should want: a steady marriage, a cozy home, a partner who never raised his voice. Jason, my husband, was dependable in every way. The kind of man who paid bills on time, remembered anniversaries, and believed routine was the key to peace. People often told me I was lucky. He's such a good man, they'd say. And he was. Jason was calm where I was restless, patient where I was impulsive. He gave me stability, a gift I thought would make me happy forever. Our house was neat, filled with quiet mornings and small habits that repeated like clockwork. Every evening, Jason would sit at the same spot on the couch, his laptop open, eyes fixed on work that never seemed to end. I'd sit across from him, pretending the silence didn't ache. We'd exchange words, simple ones, about dinner, about errands, about bills, but never about us. It's strange how emptiness can sneak up on you, not suddenly but slowly, like dust gathering on a forgotten shelf. At first I ignored it. I told myself that's what marriage becomes. Calm, familiar, predictable. But deep down, something inside me began to stir. A quiet ache that whispered, "Is this it?" There's a certain kind of loneliness that only appears when you're not truly alone. Jason was always there, sitting beside me, sleeping next to me, sharing meals. Yet somehow I felt invisible. His presence had weight, but not warmth. He wasn't cruel or careless. He was simply content, and I wasn't. I began to miss things I couldn't name. Laughter that came easily. Curiosity that felt alive. The thrill of being seen. Every time Jason looked at his screen instead of me, it felt like a small door closing between us. I'd wake up beside him, look at his face in the soft morning light, and wonder if he ever noticed the distance growing like a shadow between us. I still loved him. Or maybe I loved the memory of what we used to be. But that love had changed shape. It was no longer a fire. It was a photograph, something I could look at, but not feel. And that's when Noah began to come into focus. Noah had always been part of our lives. He was Jason's oldest friend, the kind who showed up unannounced, laughed too loudly, and had a way of making any room feel lighter. He was different from Jason in almost every way. Where Jason was careful, Noah was fearless. Where Jason planned, Noah improvised. He carried an energy that pulled people in, a confidence that didn't need words. For years, I saw him as nothing more than a friend, a familiar presence, a friendly face who fixed things around the house or joined us for dinner. But slowly something changed. Maybe it started the day I caught him watching me, not in a way that crossed a line, but in a way that noticed. He saw things Jason didn't, the books on the shelf I loved, the songs I hummed under my breath. The way my voice softened when I talked about my dreams, and for the first time in a long time I felt seen. It began innocently, as these things always do. One evening, Jason was late from work. Noah stopped by to fix a cabinet hinge that had been squeaking for weeks. We ended up talking in the kitchen, about nothing, about everything. He asked how I was doing, and I almost said fine, the way I always did. But his eyes lingered, patient, searching, and the truth slipped out before I could stop it. "I don't know anymore," I said. That night, our conversation stretched long after the work was done. We talked about fear, dreams, the kind of people we used to be before life got too quiet. And then, a moment I'll never forget, I handed him a glass of water. His fingers brushed mine. Just that, a touch, small, meaningless, except it wasn't. The spark that passed between us was sharp, alive, the kind that wakes something you thought had died. I pulled my hand back, my heart pounding in my chest. He said nothing, and neither did I. But the silence that followed felt heavier than any words could have been. Something had shifted, quietly, dangerously. After that night, the air between us changed. Every time Noah came around, I felt it, the unspoken awareness, the invisible current. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was just lonely, that I needed to refocus on Jason. But pretending didn't work anymore. Noah didn't flirt. He didn't cross lines. But everything he did, the way he listened, the warmth in his smile, made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. And with every passing day, I began to lose the version of myself I used to know. The moment everything changed came when Jason left town on a week-long business trip. I told myself I'd use that time to rest, to think, to maybe miss him again. But Noah stopped by that evening, like he always did, to fix a leaky faucet. We laughed about something silly, something unimportant. The kind of laughter that fills a room and makes it feel like home. And then, the laughter faded. The silence that replaced it wasn't empty. It was alive. He looked at me and I looked back. There was no planning, no thought, just feeling. He stepped closer. I didn't step away. What happened next wasn't loud or rushed. It was slow, trembling, filled with 1,000 emotions that words could never hold. It wasn't about rebellion or betrayal. It was about remembering. Remembering what it felt like to be wanted, to be seen, to be alive. The morning after, everything looked the same. The kitchen light still flickered. The coffee still brewed. The world outside still moved as if nothing had changed. But inside me, everything was different. I felt guilt, deep, heavy, choking guilt. I wanted to take it back. I wanted to erase the night, to pretend it hadn't happened. But I couldn't. Because beneath the guilt was something else. Something terrifyingly beautiful. I felt alive. For the first time in years, I saw color again. The air felt sharper, sounds clearer, and that scared me more than anything. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. She looked the same, but her eyes held a truth she couldn't hide. Days turned into weeks. Jason came home and life resumed, at least on the surface. But the guilt sat inside me like a second heartbeat. I tried to act normal, but every mention of Noah's name made my stomach twist. Every smile from Jason felt undeserved, and yet, part of me couldn't forget what it felt like to be seen, to feel that spark. It wasn't about choosing one man over another. It was about the battle between two versions of myself, the woman I was supposed to be, and the woman I actually was. Noah and I didn't speak of that night again. But the silence between us was louder than words. One evening, Jason found me standing by the window, staring into nothing. He asked if I was okay, and for a moment, I almost told him everything. But how do you explain a kind of emptiness that's been growing for years? How do you confess that you've been invisible for so long you forgot what light felt like? Instead, I smiled. I said I was tired. He nodded, kissed my forehead, and went back to his laptop. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about Noah. It was about me. About the parts of myself I'd buried under labels like wife, responsible, good. Maybe what I'd really betrayed wasn't Jason, but the version of myself that stopped feeling. Weeks passed. Noah distanced himself, and I let him. It was easier to pretend than to confront what we'd done. But late at night, when the world went quiet, I'd replay everything in my mind. Every look, every unspoken word, every spark. It wasn't love, not the way people define it. It was something rawer, a reminder that beneath all the order and control, I was still capable of feeling something wild, something real. And maybe that was the danger. Now, months later, I still live in the same house, with the same man. From the outside, nothing has changed, but inside, I know the truth. You can't unsee yourself once you've been seen. Jason still doesn't know. Maybe he never will. Maybe one day I'll find the courage to tell him. Or maybe I'll carry this truth quietly, like a scar that no one else can see. Because what I found with Noah wasn't just passion. It was a mirror. One that reflected both the best and worst of who I am. Sometimes the most dangerous truths aren't the ones that destroy us. They're the ones that wake us up. And once you've been awake, pretending to sleep again is impossible. So maybe this isn't a story about betrayal. Maybe it's about rediscovery, about the fragile line between comfort and complacency, loyalty and loneliness, silence and truth. Because sometimes what breaks us isn't the fall, it's the realization that we were never really standing at all. Thank you for watching Infidelity Nest. If this story touched something in you, if it made you reflect on the quiet corners of love and life, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that explore the hidden truths behind the choices we make. Until next time, remember, sometimes the heart doesn't speak in logic, it speaks in echoes. And those echoes never really fade.